Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by brilliance.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Surrounded by Brilliance podcast. I'm your host, Josh Will, founder, creator, president, esquire, whatever the hell you want to call me. So we got a really awesome guest today, and I'll get to him here just in a second. But I want to, as always, explain to you what the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast is. So this podcast, the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast, was created to bring together like-minded people who don't get offended by much and who are annoyed by most things. I'm one of those guys. It's a podcast where humor, levity, and some serious discussion will give you a glimpse into the inner workings of my brain, a self-proclaimed get-off-my-lawn guy. You'll hear funny stories, stupid concepts, and a whole lot more from some really interesting people, and probably some not so interesting people. My next guest is actually a very interesting person. His name is Travis McCormick. How are you doing, Travis?
I'm doing good, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thanks for taking the time today. I know that you're a busy adult with jobs and parenting and all kinds of stuff, and I'll intro you here, and everyone will know why you're so busy. So as I said, my guest today is Travis McCormick. He's a sales manager for the Kalamazoo Wings, which is a professional hockey team here in Kalamazoo. He's also co-owner of Great Lakes Outdoor Company. You can see that. There's a little self-plug for you. I saw that on my desk, which is a social media / podcast company. Kind of, he'll talk more about it, but the core of it is hunting and conservation and just all things outdoorsman, in my opinion, because I'm a fan of it. So. He's married to Rachel, and they have a son, Connor, who's almost 10 months old. They have one dog and 2 cats. Now, I have watched Travis's dog before, and I am a little offended that he didn't personally name him in here, so I will. It's Brody, and he's pretty cool. So, his hobbies include hunting, fishing, conservation, slow pitch, and fast pitch softball. And that is Travis McCormick in a nutshell. How are we doing, man? What's going on? What's going on with you? I know I used to see you like once a week, just up until about a month ago, but how are things with you? Is there anything fun or exciting going on in your life?
Like you said, we were seeing each other, once or twice a week. Hockey season was in full swing.
Right.
Unfortunately, to make the playoffs this year, and I've had an extended summer. So with the weekends, with work has subsided, more weekends of hunting and parenting have taken over, so just as busy. Actually, tonight you got me out of doing the nighttime routine, so either that's kind of a thank you and a crap there, but everything's going great on my side.
I don't think that's a thank you. I think what that is you're gonna have to make it up to your wife, even tenfold later on. So
correct.
I'll apologize, but hunting. Any cool hunting stories recently? I know that in the last couple of weeks you've brought something home. Do you want to share what that was, or what that's been, or what you've harvested?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of you may know, and right now in season is turkey for Michigan. And so here in the southern unit, we're able to hunt from middle of April till end of May. And I've been kind of putting off to go out turkey hunting just because of work and life and stuff like that. And I like to hunt with my father up north, and so that's a different season altogether. But I had one longbeard that was frequenting the camera every day. Tried him one time, and then I don't know how much you talked about your lovely wife, Tony, my boss, but I messaged her and said, hey, boss, can I come in a little bit late Thursday morning? I need to go get myself a turkey. And she said, okay, and the rest is history there. So.
She said, well, so that's actually, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Of all, if you want to smoke that turkey, I've become an expert in smoking turkeys in my smoker. So much so that Tony, my wife, which you'll allude to a little bit more here in a second with the next question. If you know, she wasn't eating meat for what, a year and a half, and I had smoked a turkey this past Thanksgiving, and she took a bite of it, and I think her exact words were, "That's pretty fucking good." And the next day she's like, "I think I'm going to start eating meat again." But so, anyways, if you have a desire to smoke it, because there's only so many ways you can make turkey, and I will tell you, if you smoke it, it doesn't get, like 2 weeks later, you can pull it out of the fridge and it's not dry. It's still moist. So
Well, and
moist.
something I think wild turkey is one of my favorite kind of meats, and so unfortunately that turkey has already been eaten to the full extent. We cooked it up for my wife's family because her brother was in town from Washington. So, um, as you
Good.
know, you have an open invite to go turkey hunting. So
I,
you just let me know. We can get you on a
I
bird.
know, but remember, we're trying to time this up around my wife. So that's
Well,
why.
if you just want to go, you let me know, and
Well,
we'll
that
just
would be much easier. I'm happy. I will gladly do that. So, but that's a good segue because we've alluded to several things. There's been quite a bit of alluding to how do you and I know each other? That's another question for you. Let kind of give the listeners an idea of how we know one another and how we have been connected. So,
yeah. So we've known each other now for what, 4 years now.
yeah.
And we met through the Kalamazoo Wings, where I'm employed, and your wife is my boss. And so we've kind of connected through the love of hunting and just bullshit and kind of being like-minded individuals. So,
Yeah, very true. My wife has connected us, and uh, I do. I believe you take this as a compliment. I consider you a get off my lawn guy, even though you are, by my standards, a young buck, because you still have a two. If I'm correct, you still have a two in your age. We don't need
I'm
to
still
share it.
too for a couple more
Yeah,
years.
we
Yep.
don't have to share it, but you still have a two in your age, and I have kids that have twos in their age.
Hmm.
So you're a young buck in my book, but a get off my lawn guy, an old soul at heart, a simpleton, and I say that as a compliment. It's like you you like to keep things simple and to the point. You don't stick your nose where like you're chill. Anyways, I'm rambling, and that's not good for the four listeners we've got. So, uh, so the I've alluded, which that's like the third time I've used the word allude. God, I need to start reading like a syllabus or something
I'm gonna
before.
get you a dictionary, okay? And you
Well, I
can
need a
words.
syllabus, or yeah, syllabus is the one that gives you um, different vernacular for the similar definitions. But, anyways, um, third question, because we've talked about, and I've used the "get off my lawn" guy phrase quite a bit. When you
Mhm.
hear the phrase "get off my lawn," what does that mean to you, or what do you think of?
Well, I think of the very surface level as someone comes on my yard that I don't want to have on my yard, and I tell them to get off my lawn type of thing.
Okay, so
Hmm.
you think of it literally, like get off my fucking lawn. You weren't
Correct.
invited.
Correct. And
Okay.
that's very, and I think that, but if you get down the nitty gritty, there are a few things that I'm like, you know what, if I'm tested to where Travis needs to quit being the chill and calm, collected kind of guy. It's when people, take advantage of things that, that I've worked hard for, which
Okay.
example would be my property, right? Like I've learned this growing up from, living up in Ludington and my family having, hundreds of acres, and people just think they can just, because we're not using it or not out there, they can go on it, right? ATVs, snowmobiles, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they destruct things and litter. So that's one of my dead set things where I'm like, if people are on my property that aren't supposed to be on my property, Travis isn't very happy.
You know what? I appreciate it, and I'm gonna tell a fun little story here. But the fact that you take "get off my lawn" literally, because there's other variations of "get off my lawn," right?
Hmm.
There's some other figurative speaking. We'll talk about that here in a second. But when you are like, yeah, I take people coming on my property very seriously. So you've been to our home. We're at the end of a dead end street, private drive. We're the last house. You can't drive, but there is a house next door to us, but you have to access that from a separate road that comes off of another main drive. So you come to our property, you can't go to the other property unless you park your car here and walk over there. Well, if you're doing that, you shouldn't be on my property, right? So fast forward, that's not the scenario. The drive over here where there's a lot of people that live over here, so they'll walk, and the polite people will walk, and when they get to the neighbor's drive, they stop, they turn around, they walk back up the road. Well, I may or may not have cameras on my property, right? Because I don't want anyone listening to get funny. But over the last several weeks, when I haven't been home or I've been down here in my office, I've noticed that they're walking over here. They're not stopping at the neighbor's drive. They're walking across the neighbor's property, which it butts right up against ours. Yeah. And then they're walking across ours and taking the private drive up to the other road that takes them out to theirs, and they kind of do like this weird rectangular walk.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, there are a handful of people that we know that we're friends with that live over there that they have asked and said, "Hey, do you care if we walk through your yard to go up here? Because then we walk here, boom, boom, boom." No problem. It's cool. Yeah. That's okay if I know you and you ask. The people I've been catching on camera that have been doing this, I don't know them. I have never talked to them. They've never asked me. So it happened a couple weeks ago when I was out of town, and I was fuming. I'm like, I wish I'd have been home. And then I happened to be, last week, I saw two women walking. I figured I'd wait. I lost vision of them. I figured they'd turn around and start walking back. Well, I'm like, no, clearly they're walking across the property. I happened to be outside with Jack, so we walked around front, and he took off after them, barking as they're on our property. And the lady looks right at me and goes, "Sorry, I'll go the other way around." Basically admitting, "Hey, I know I'm not supposed to be walking here. I'll just apologize." And I just gave her one of these because I was like, I don't know who she is, and I can't be certain that Tony hasn't given them permission to walk by. Well, I found out later on she did not give them permission to walk by. We didn't know who they were. So I'm like, these fucking people, like, get off my lawn. Fast forward, I'm dragging this out, but it's a perfect taking your get off my lawn literal.
Yeah.
I'd seen these two little kids, young girls, probably 12 to 13. Saw them walking, lost sight, didn't see them come back. They were walking across the neighbor's property. I come running out, and Tony goes, "What's going on?" I'm like, "They're on our property." I run out with Jack. We run out there. Jack starts running at him. He's barking. The one girl runs back. The other girl runs here. And then this little girl, she turns around and starts walking back. And I was nice, but I said, "Hey, just so you know, this isn't a walkway, okay?" Yeah. I come inside, and Tony goes, "You literally just had a get off my lawn moment." Like, literally. So, yeah. Anyways.
I mean, you allude to a good point there. It's like it doesn't bother me if someone asks permission and does that, right? But it's when they just think they can do it, and it's like, no, like that's not how life works here.
Like, this isn't. There's no cul-de-sac here where you can, and there's no sidewalk to just walk through. You shouldn't be walking on the neighbor's property, and you shouldn't be walking on our property. So turn your ass around. So I told Tony, I'm like, I might just sit out there with a lawn chair and start popping off 12-gauge shots in the air. Like, it's my property. I can do what I want. And we don't live in the city limits. So, anyways, so.
Or you just start walking around like Mr. 4th of July all the time, and they'll just scare people away.
Well, I thought about putting a sign up that said, if you've come this far, turn around, you weren't invited. Something like that. But All right, that's a great segue into what I like to call our Surrounded by Brilliance Get Off My Lawn segment. So, just to give you some background and context, for years I have been compiling a list of what I would call get off my lawn scenarios or situations that I've actually either been directly involved in or I've witnessed. And they're scenarios where, you know, they're just situations that really fucking annoy me. And they should, in theory, annoy everyone else. It's moments like that. It's kind of like it's moments like that when someone does something and you turn your head kind of like a dog and you're like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, and these people are so oblivious or they're so entitled. So ultimately, it's a situation or a scenario that annoys or frustrates you. That's kind of get off my lawn-esque. Something that a majority of people would foundationally be annoyed by, and they would understand your annoyance. Do you have an example, Mr. McCormick, of a get off my lawn situation or scenario that that frustrates you or annoys you? That's kind of, it could be general, it could be specific.
I would say a very simple one is when I open the door for someone and they don't say thank you. Like it's just like come on, like it's just say thank you and be on your way, and some people just walk right through, they don't acknowledge you. It's like, come on, man, like what are we doing here?
Yeah, what are we doing? And it's like, have you ever thought about? Do you ever thought about saying something like, "Hey, I held the door for you. You're welcome."
No, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not
I
very.
know.
I guess it would depend on the mood. Right?
You're a good person. You're
Yeah,
a good person.
yeah. Like I don't need acknowledgement for it, but acknowledgement is nice.
No, you don't do it for the acknowledgement, but what you would like to do is see some reciprocation of kindness, right? Because
Correct.
you're not. That's not why you're doing it, but it would be nice just if people in this world would treat people the way they want to be treated. So if you're doing something nice for them, how hard is it for them to say, literally, in passing, thank you? But they don't, right?
That's kind of it goes to a point of in a four-way stop when it's your turn and someone waves you like you don't know it's your turn to go. It's like, yeah, I know it's my turn to go. That's why I'm going to be going here. You don't have to wave me through. Like I know four-way etiquette. You don't have to wave me through.
Right, right. Well, so because here at the Surrounded by Brilliance podcast, we don't want people to think we're just here to bitch and complain about stupid people. Bring this full circle for me. So in a situation where you open the door for someone and they don't say thank you or they don't acknowledge you, how could you turn that situation into a positive? What could you do, or what could you take from it, or how could you spin it into a positive situation? What could you learn from it? Find some positivity in it.
I would say learn as simple as it is just being when someone does it to you, is that you make sure you say thank you to them, or ask them like thank you, have a good day or something like that. You spin it around to where you're not, because sometimes maybe you might be busy and you might not do it, right? Or I might not do it, and then that person might think the same thing how I think. So it's just making sure that I reciprocate what I want to happen to me.
So it's a healthy reminder. That's the positive
Yeah.
for you. Like, because we're going to go back to making fun of pieces of shit that don't say hi. It's a healthy reminder to you that you're not a piece of human garbage and you are polite to people.
Correct.
Human garbage might be a bit aggressive, but that's what we do here. So, all right. So, and I guess I didn't give the format, so I always let the guest give their scenario and we talk about that. And now I'm going to give my get off my lawn event or scenario. I got a couple of them that we'll talk about today. So my first one would be when a neighbor blows their grass clippings into your yard. So they're doing that first swipe right on the property line, which means they should be blowing those clippings back onto their yard, common courtesy. But in this situation, they're not. That annoys me because I am a green thumb when it comes to my yard. I love to spend time out there working on it, cutting it. I have a striping kit on my riding lawnmower because I like the stripes. So I take that shit seriously. So if you're going to put your grass clippings on my yard, I question, do you know what you're doing, right? Two, are you licensed to be driving that lawnmower? Because a true green thumb professional would not. They would have the respect for the grass and the neighbor to not be putting it there. And three, why the fuck are you doing that? So that annoys me. That said, if my neighbor here happens to listen to this, they do not blow their clippings in my yard, right? They do not. But
Good safe.
yeah, it's a safe space for them. They do not. So that's one thing that annoys me, and really it's because of how overkill I am on the yard. I'm that guy that probably mows end of spring into summer. I probably mow every 4 days, every 5 days.
What setting you mow on? What length?
Well, it depends. I think right now, by midsummer, I'll be at, I think, 2.5.
2.5. Okay, it's pretty short.
Or no, well, no, not short. It's from the deck. It doesn't matter. Let's just, you know what? I do it right. I keep it tight. I do it right. So here's how I would turn that into a positive. What I would say is, by them blowing their clippings into my yard, how could I make that into a positive? I don't know. I don't think there is a positive to that, because if anything, I treat my yard. They're putting their freaking dandelion filled shit into my yard. So the positive would be, I now have the right to blow mine into their yard. Right? So that's one get off my lawn moment. And I have a ton, but we're not going to talk about them all, because I hope to have other people on this podcast, and I don't want to use all of them up, even though I'm accumulating them daily. But another one is Facebook Marketplace. If I just say Facebook Marketplace, you're probably like, yeah. People on there are so dumb. Like dumb. You've had experiences, right?
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Any recently?
I would say, it's been probably a year since I posted something on there, because it usually happens to when I post. Actually, no, because I've been in the process of buying a golf cart, and I found one, and I told the guy, I was like, hey, I have a K-Wings game Friday, Saturday. I can't make it down. Can you hold it till Sunday, or hold it till Monday? I'll be down there with cash in hand to buy it. He goes, yeah, no problem. I was like, awesome, cool. I'm excited. I told everyone at work I'm excited. Told Rachel I'm excited. Told my parents I'm excited. Monday, I text him, because he told me to text him at noon. Text him at noon and say, hey, what's your address? Could we head that way here shortly? I get a message back. Hey, sorry, my buddy actually stopped by on Sunday and said he wanted it, so I sold it to him. And I'm like, I said, really? I said, I went to the bank, I got the cash out, I did all this. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, no common courtesy of sending me a message like, hey, I'll come here sooner. Like, I would have came Sunday night to get it if that was the issue, but
Right.
Nothing was said, And so that's just it. That chaps my ass when that happens there.
Here's a hot take for you, and I will stand on this. I would argue that there are more people on Facebook Market. There are more people with low integrity on Facebook Marketplace than there are in prison. Screw those people. I mean, seriously, and less brains. I had something posted up recently, and it just chaps my ass too. Like, you post it up, I have a description like this. You have the price on there, and then people are just like, they ask you a question about the product, like, it's in the description, but I'll answer it for you. And then they'll be like, so are you firm on the price? And I'm like, make an offer. Do you not know how this works?
It's been up for a day, man. Come on.
Or they'll ask you. They'll say, "Have you ever tried to sell a car on Facebook Marketplace?" Oh my God, if you ever want to see just pieces of shit come out of the woodwork, just put a fake posting up, right? Go get pictures of a car somewhere on the street, and put a fake posting up. You will be so unbelievably blown away, and it starts within 3 minutes of you posting it, and then people start telling you. You're like, they love to say, "I'm a serious buyer. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'll give you this much cash." They don't ask any questions. They just say, "I'm a serious buyer." I'm like, all right, you're not real. Or you'll get the guy who's like, "I'm a serious buyer. Can I come pick it up now?" And then you look at his Facebook profile, and he lives in like Indonesia, right?
As one friend. Yeah.
Or then you got the guy who asks all the questions. He's like asking about this, asking about that. Is it available? Yes. And then you never hear from him.
And he ghosts you. Yep.
And he just ghosts you. Like, what are we doing here? It's kind of like, I don't know.
It's crazy in a time of, technology and just, where we're at in society, that you have to put in the bio, will not respond to still available. Or if it's posted, it's still available.
I don't do that. You don't do that. But from my experience, the people that do that are probably some very hardcore get off my lawn guys. They might even be more hardcore than me, because they're like, I ain't got time for this shit.
No, because it's like it takes 2 seconds to delete the "is it still available" text and say, "Hey, I'm interested in buying," or something like that. Instead of, they just hit send and it says, "Is it still available?" It's like, no, I'm not responding to that shit. Like, no. Keep going. Keep moving.
Or I'm very honest and upfront with people. I'll like, if they, and I try to be fair. So if 6 people all respond, I will give the first person the opportunity. I'll say, "Hey, I have a lot of interest in this. Are you interested?" And if they don't respond timely, I move on to the next one. But then you'll have people, even after sending those messages, they'll come back and be like, "I messaged you. You never got back to me." I'm like, dude, you can't respond a day later on this product or this, like, because the cars are the worst, like I said. So
yeah.
So as far as
I've only got rid of junk on there, so it hasn't been too big of a deal. So
yeah, like, it's not like you're. I mean, if recently you've seen a lot of designer luxury watches, and then when you zoom in on them, they're basically fake Rolexes that in the pictures they have crossed out, like blacked out where it says Rolex, because if they had that on there, it wouldn't pass the standard for posting. Facebook wouldn't allow it. Because I'm like, you're selling a Rolex for $350? Wow, that must be a really good Rolex. Because I think the most inexpensive Rolex out there is like $9,000 maybe, something stupid. Anyways, so how I would turn that into a positive is this: I am very positively certain that what the positive is, this has helped enhance. I have a pretty good bullshit meter, a pretty good red flag meter. Facebook Marketplace has enhanced that because there's different segments. My red flag capabilities were first came along when I was dating, and now they've evolved into products on Facebook Marketplace, and you just learn the different types of bullshitters or scams. So that's the positive. If you notice, I had nothing positive to say about the people on Facebook Marketplace. So,
hey, that's you.
So that's our Get Off My Lawn segment. Again, I love that your version of Get Off My Lawn is literal. Get off my fucking property. I respect that. So now what we're going to do is just kind of do some rapid fire questions. But before I do that, and maybe you didn't want to talk about this intentionally or at all, so maybe me bringing it up, maybe I shouldn't, but I will, because it's my podcast and I can do what I want. So you were a college athlete. Like, you really loved baseball and played baseball in college. And I mean, you talked about softball, fast pitch and stuff, but did you not want to talk about that because it's in the past and you're transferring those skills to softball? And I mean, I know it didn't necessarily I know it didn't go the way you wanted, but and I know the story because this is me giving you some props. I would venture to say that's what's made you the man that you are today. Because you're a great father, you're a great husband, you're a great employee. From what I hear from my wife, you always call her boss, which I think is very old school, but I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So, did you want to talk about your love for baseball at all?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a touchy subject. I mean,
Okay,
because I
that's
mean,
okay.
you know the story. I mean, I'm fine to talk about it. I mean, it's definitely it's something that I definitely grew from, and
Yeah.
I've always been in love with baseball, right? So backstory, I grew up around fast pitch. My dad played fast pitch for 20-ish years. Lived at the ballpark every weekend of the summer. Was at a ballpark, playing catch, playing ball with the kids at the field. And then that transferred into elementary, high school. I was fortunate enough to, from a really small school in Michigan, be able to make it to the collegiate level. And I busted my ass, really. I busted my ass. Like, I worked harder than I ever could, and I won myself a starting spot on a junior college baseball team, which, not knocking it at all. It's still collegiate baseball. It's not the highest level, but it was my goal. It was my dream, right? And that dream led into another dream, of potentially making it and playing professional baseball, because that was every boy's dream. I tell people when I was in high school and stuff, like, well, like, what's your dream job? And I was like, I want to play professional baseball, and that was my same thing I said all the way up until I was in college. Like, that was my dream. I had no other. I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to play baseball, and that was my mindset, and that's what I was going to do. And
Yeah.
I had completed. I was on my track. I was playing really well. I had a starting spot as a freshman. Beat out some sophomores, some senior sophomores, and that winter tryouts going into spring training. I found out I lost feeling in both my legs when I was in training. Was rushed to the emergency room where they found out I had clots in both my legs, which had been there for, they don't know how long they had
Yeah.
been there for. Which at the time they told me I would never play I'd never play a sport again because of blood thinners, and one hit could kill me pretty much, because I couldn't stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Which I eventually, I told them, like, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Went to the emergency room. They figured out what was happened. Parents came down. Was at Henry Ford Hospital. They started doing treatment. They told me they couldn't break through the clots because the clots were so hard and so big.
Okay.
So they took me home from there. I was on blood thinners. Went to U of M hospital, go blue.
Podcast's over.
Now I just thought of something I'm going to segue to after the fact, but I'm
Yeah, that's
keeping on
fine.
the story here.
That's fine.
They get me there. I go through a 2-day procedure where I was laying on my back, and they drilled liquid IVs, liquid blood thinners into my legs,
Oh wow.
which then broke up the clots, and they inserted stents into my legs there.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was not a fun surgery, I'll tell you that. Don't ever get blood clots because you are awake during that surgery. And so I felt every little thing that happened there. So that was not a great time. I would rank that just below having a catheter in. I don't know if you ever had a catheter before, but
Not one,
I would
no.
recommend do not have it. It hurts going in, it hurts even worse coming out. I digress. But they get everything figured out. I get on some less extensive blood thinners, and they tell me, it's not really it's not safe, but if you get cleared by my one doctor that I had, like they'll let you play. And so
Yeah.
I went to them, and I told them I was going to wear every type of protection that possible. I had another padded, because I'm a catcher, right? So I take foul
Oh.
ticks, all that kind of stuff. So it's even worse, right? Foul tick off the mask, so I had an extra layer of padding on my chest, an extra padding in my helmet, extra padding in my legs. Like, I wore all the padding possible. Fast forward, I got cleared to play, and I played my sophomore season. Didn't play a lot just because I was out of shape. hadn't played a lot, played that season, and I had the option to either, go and come back and play again because I got black shirted, which is an injury red shirt, or just continue on with life. And so at the time I was with my, then girlfriend, now wife, Rachel, and I was thinking more logically in this fact that, I lost a year, lost a lot of, like I lost a step. Like I can't do that. So I decided to go to Central where I then played club up there, had a great time up there, and then, kind of transformed my wine to play to then sports. So, it's kind of
it's
here I
brought
am
you
now.
full circle. Well,
Correct.
And I didn't necessarily mean to bring up a subject that you don't want to talk about, but I think it's kind of a testament to the person that you are. So if you were okay talking about it, which you were, and I appreciate that, I wanted to bring it up. And two, I learned a couple of things about you there. I mean, I knew most of the story, but there's some stuff there. And as I'm thinking through this, listening to you talk, I mean, who knows if you decide to go back and play, maybe your now wife is like, all right, you're being stupid. This isn't someone who I want to spend the rest of my life with. And right now you'd be kicking yourself in the ass if that happened. So, happened for a reason. It brought you to where you were. And it's a great example to show people listening to this podcast that we're multifaceted. We can make fun of people. We can let you know how people are stupid. We can bitch and complain about them. But we can also give you feel-good, motivational, inspiring stories from Mr. Travis McCormick here, who apparently wants to say something about go blue, go blow, go.
Oh, yeah, thanks for reminding me. So this past
Go ahead.
weekend, my amazing Michigan Wolverines I would say trounced the Ohio State Buckeyes in baseball in a 3-game series. And I don't know if you've seen the scores at all, but it was 23-1, 11-4, and then it was like 7-1 or something like that. It was just a master class, It was just master.
I'm pretty certain that the Ohio State lacrosse team smoked the Michigan Wolverines in the Big Ten championship this past weekend, I believe.
I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
No. If you're going to bring up your baseball, I also believe breaking news today. Go figure. Another Michigan head football coach suspended.
Yeah,
By
I did
Michigan,
see that.
By Michigan again. It's the same playbook they did with Jim Harbaugh. They're like, hey, we know we broke the rules. Let's get out in front of this and let's suspend our coach so that maybe the NCAA will take it easy on us, right? You guys have the playbook on that down. You're doing it every other year at this point. So bravo to you.
I mean, for some reason it works out. I don't know. So I might as well just keep on running it every year, like suspend the coach 2 games and win natties. So I don't know. I don't know what that.
Anyways, all right.
I don't know. It worked once. Might as well try it again.
I have some rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to wrap up this podcast. So, quick rapid fire. Everyone wants to know. Everyone gets asked this question. Travis McCormick, are you a stander or a sitter?
With what?
Do you stand up to wipe, or do you remain seated?
Oh, I remain seated.
Because you're a real man's man.
This could have went 2 ways. I had heard another thing, and so I wasn't sure if that's what you're alluding to or not. So I'll let you continue on.
Favorite restaurant and why?
I would say any Mexican restaurant because I love me a good margarita.
All right. Now, up to this point, I've had people who are my age on this podcast, but I'm going to ask you this question. So, if we could rewind to when you were 20 years old, this isn't quite as applicable to you because you're still in your 20s. But if we could rewind to when you were 20 years old, and I told you you had to either give up your looks or your sense of humor for the rest of your life, which one would you choose to give up and why?
I would say my looks because I think humor makes me sane. And I don't think I could go. I don't think I could live without being able to laugh and be able to have the sense of humor that I have currently.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty much the common answer. But I will say you said it in a very eloquent and deep fashion. Who would have thunk it? The guy who's on here with the least of life experience, who is all about the outdoors, who's all about hunting, could speak so eloquently to such a life situation. You, my friend, I believe, is what they call a Renaissance man.
Hey, that's just how it is sometimes.
That is how it is. Look, I'd love to keep talking and chatting, but my goal for this podcast, because it's filled with a lot of useless information, although this has been very informative, but the whole point of this podcast, if without having to tell everybody, even though I'm going to, is obviously, it's to kind of give you a break from the everyday podcast you listen to. Because you normally listen to a podcast to learn something or educate yourself on something. And I myself have found myself looking for podcasts that kind of just talk about random stuff, because I start to get tired of listening to this podcast to learn this or that. So it's just to give a little break. So that's why I try to keep it shorter. We've gone a little longer than typical, but again, great conversation. So, and because this episode's obviously going to go viral, it'll shut down the internet. You obviously are a business owner, and I know that you would love to grow Great Lakes outdoors. So where can people find you and learn more about you? And if you want, go ahead and take the next 30 seconds to kind of talk about what you do, because we didn't talk about what you do at Great Lakes Outdoors. So if you want to tell a little bit about Great Lakes Outdoors and tell them where they can find you, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, like you said, I am a co-owner in Great Lakes Outdoors, which is on pretty much every social media platform: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a podcast as well. There you go.
That's the logo. Look for that logo.
Yep. And we pretty much just talk about the outdoors. We try to do things the right way. I know a lot of people out there are looking for the biggest bucks, the pile picks, the big fish. We're just out here to have fun, and so that's what we try to promote, and that's what we do. But yeah, you can find us on all social media platforms, Great Lakes Outdoors.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been fun. Hopefully you'll be back again. We can find some other topics to talk about. Maybe this podcast can expand, and maybe we'll have a hunting segment. But right now, since we only have 4 listeners, I need to try to keep their attention span. So thanks again for coming on. I'll let you get back to the family. But thanks everyone else for listening. This podcast was sponsored by no one, because we're not corporate sellouts. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great night.
Get off my lawn. Don't turn around in my driveway. And don't drive slow if you're in the left lane. Scooby-Doo-bop-bop-a-deep-a-doop-bop-bop. Surrounded by real